Hi friends, I'm always looking for opportunities, and often enough the best profits are from assets deep under the radar. This is something I found, bringing real DeFi to Bitcoin, from a trust-based system to a trustless system. This is something that fintech could not solve in traditional finance. I think this is going to 20x really fast. The video has two parts: the interview with the CEO of Cake, followed by a step-by-step guide. This is not sponsored, and the same goes for every video I put out. Enjoy. Hi Dr. Julian, you are the CEO of Cake. You used to be a medical doctor and you've been through a few companies. So let's say hi to the audience and let them know more about you.
I'm originally from Austria in Europe, so not Australia, the kangaroo country. So yeah, Austria. I studied medicine there. At the same time, I was for 10 years I was a professional kite surfer. So I had a really cool kind of teenage years, and yeah, when I became a medical doctor, I was missing a bit the wild and missing a bit the experimenting, and I worked for a brief time, and I said I need to do a business in this space. And in 2012 I quit. I moved to Hong Kong actually originally, and I tried so many medical ideas, CRISPR, and a lot of the data management and booking systems, various things. And in 2014 I learned about blockchain, and I was fascinated by this idea in people controlling their own data, and I wanted to do a startup in that space, and I was not good enough as an entrepreneur back then.
Recently you had this business ongoing, like before Cake you had another business ongoing, right? Would you want to talk about that business?
Yeah, so in 2015 I met two other partners in Bangkok actually.
I see.
Yeah, and I was still not convinced on the financial space of blockchain. I was still a bit more skeptical on Bitcoin especially. Yeah. But then the more and more I researched, the more and more I learned, the more I realized, wow, you know, cryptocurrencies could be interesting. And yeah, in 2015 we came in May, we came to Singapore. DBS had a hackathon here out at Bash, Startup Accelerator. And we pitched an idea to make debit cards that people could use to make crypto spendable.
I see.
Back then the company was called OneBit, focused on Bitcoin. And then yeah, we grew step by step, and then we rebranded in 2016 to 10x. 10x. Yeah, and the company was super wild. Hey, we were flying high. I think at the peak the company was probably worth close to $500 million.
Wow. All right. So you built a company from scratch to $500 million.
Yeah, we had 100 employees. So we were really flying well, and then yeah, there was ego involved and jealousy, and I don't know, like just found a drama really. And end of 2018 I was forced out by the other two founders. Yeah. And that was at a time when the company, I mean, we had what, 100 employees, we had hundreds of thousands of customers worldwide. We had just actually gotten the e-money license in Europe. So there's a lot of really fantastic things, and yeah, it was a bit of a public fallout as well. It was not, we didn't handle it too well in my opinion, but yeah, sadly, and it's really sad especially for the customers and investors. After I was kicked out, now 2 years later, the company was shut down actually.
The thing is, welcome to the business world. I also been through, I would like to say shitty business partners.
Really?
But it's all right. I mean, when you do business, you learn people, and you learn not to make the same mistakes in future business, and it makes you stronger in the next business you start. So this is where Cake comes in, right?
Yeah, and so, yeah, exactly. The main lesson I think I learned was really to pick the right partners, just like you mentioned. Yeah. Be a bit better on the communication. I think I really sucked on the communication because I was so destroyed myself a bit. So I was really poor at communicating. Yeah. And so we actually had one of the lead engineers who did most of the blockchain engineering. He's Singaporean. His name is Yusin Chua. He was actually a fellow here for the Singapore blockchain institution for the government. So yeah, he has been in blockchain for 10 years now. Right. And yeah, I called him up, and I was heartbroken. I was destroyed. Yeah, because like I was kicked out and I just hated it. And he was like, yeah, you know, let's do something together. Like he's so good with the tech side, and I was more the business side. And yeah, that's when we started CakeDefi, which basically is a service that brings DeFi services to a CeFi platform, so that people who don't want to deal with DeFi themselves, they have like plug-and-play solutions on a single platform.
I'm really, very bullish on this whole DeFi platform. The kind of disruption you will do to banks and stuff. And you are doing something which I'll cover, we'll go into that question later in the video, where you are solving a problem where I see very few people are trying to solve. So we'll go into that later. So let's start with the most basic question. What is DeFi?
So most people forget that Bitcoin is actually DeFi as well. So DeFi is decentralized finance. And all it does, it makes 7 functions that the financial world has. And instead of having banks or the government taking care of it, it decentralizes it. So the first one is creating money. Normally the government does it. In this case, Bitcoin does it. Transferring that money, Bitcoin does this as well. These are the 2 functions that Bitcoin takes. Number 3 is exchanging. Exchanging is very different to transferring, but it means you give me something, I give you something in return. Ethereum, for example, originally started offering that. So that was the 3rd one. 4th one is lending, decentralized lending. So everything is decentralized. So there's no bank, no government is in charge. It's actually the blockchain.
I see.
Yeah. Then the 5th one is tokenization. Tokenization means you represent something and you wrap it and you kind of represent it on a blockchain. But instead of someone holding that asset and you have to trust that, it's the entire community who does that.
So you just basically remove the bank from it, and if you could have, to summarize like what you say, if you could remove the banks from it and let the whole system run by itself without the middleman, it's going to save people a lot of money, a lot of time, and you could do a lot of transactions themselves.
Yeah, so it's debatable on whether people save money and time, because many times like decentralization is super inefficient. I think it's more that you remove a necessary trusted third party, which in certain circumstances is a really great benefit because no one can take away your Bitcoins. No one can censor that. In a decentralized exchange, there is no stopping of you being able to exchange something.
That's the best part. Like you have a trustless system. I think this is most important. Like how can you build trust into people, take away risk, just make it trustless and it becomes risk-free. So I think this is where DeFi is very important in this space.
So many people like think of DeFi in 2020, right? But DeFi actually started with Bitcoin. It's just now there was this expansion of function sets that people now with the lending and with the exchanging just came in 2020.
Who do you think is leading in the DeFi space? I hear like there's Polkadot, there's Cardano, there's BNB, and there is, like Ethereum. So who do you think is leading in the whole DeFi space?
I mean, Ethereum by far. They have the longest time. They have by far the largest developer network and user network. I think whenever you are the king of the hill, you're always the one who's being attacked. And so I think a lot of people just don't want to give Ethereum the credit it should deserve. There are really great competitors, right? Polkadot is definitely one. Cardano is a bit of a flip because at the moment nothing really is happening on Cardano.
True.
So it does have transactions and staking is happening, but actual DeFi is not really happening yet. The function sets are missing, right? But that should be happening now in the next couple of weeks. They should upgrade this. So depending on when people are watching. Binance Smart Chain, very interesting because they basically copy a lot from Ethereum, make it very interoperable. And then obviously I'm involved in DeFichain, which is a completely different approach, right? Focuses more on the Bitcoin side. So everyone kind of tries their own little strengths but at the moment, Ethereum, I think, has over 90% of the market.
So, Dr. Julian, what is the problem with DeFi right now?
I mean, problem might be a bit exaggerated, but I think there are challenges, right? And just in anything. Most of the DeFi aside of Bitcoin is happening on Ethereum. And again, it has 90% of the market share there. Ethereum is not scalable. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah, the gas fees are pretty high now, right?
It's just insane. Sometimes a transaction costs you $100, right? To interact with the ledger, it's $100. It's just insane. So there are challenges there. Again, Binance tries to solve this. Polkadot tries to solve it. At the end, the question is always, and that's the magic question, is how can you make it more interoperable? I think the future of DeFi doesn't lie in one blockchain. It's really the blockchains that can integrate Ethereum and Bitcoin and can just be a bit more cross-functional. I think that's what a lot of the that's what a lot of the CeFi platforms are trying to solve for right now. But again, you want to try to do this on DeFi?
On DeFi, because like let's move on to like example C5 but DeFi platform. Like we have BlockFi, which is doing this. Which they're using Gemini as a trust or something like that. So this is my problem with BlockFi. If BlockFi goes down, all your Bitcoin goes, it disappears. So it's still centralized. So what's important here is if we could have a trustless system. So what is your take between for all this like BlockFi? There are many platforms like this. What is your take behind all this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm the CEO of one of those platforms. So like for full transparency. So I think BlockFi, Celsius, Nexo, obviously my own CakeDefi. Yes. Look, everything has upsides and downsides, right? And it's impossible to make the perfect system. So perfect would be you don't have to trust anyone, but it's super easy to use, and you don't have any risks. You have a lot of upside. The thing is, most of the time, when you don't have a company or a customer service, it's very difficult to actually use it. And so a lot of companies like BlockFi, like CakeDefi and so on, we have to bypass that a bit. Now, I think, right, and again, that's where I think what we really focused on always at CakeDefi is we want to be super transparent. And so we want to show every single node, every single transfer, every single deposit, so that people at least have this assurance that their money is there. Some of the companies are a bit more of a black box, and not everyone is perfect. Again, I don't think you will have a perfect solution.
I see. All right, thanks for the transparency. Yeah. The problem now with the DeFi space with Ether and other smart contract system, you cannot actually DeFi Bitcoin. So if we could actually do that, we don't really need BlockFi anymore. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, again, I don't think companies like BlockFi will ever be replaced because you want people to have an easy user interface. But where you're right is, I think at the moment DeFi with Bitcoin is just very challenging. And the reason why it's challenging is because Bitcoin as a blockchain has very limited capabilities when it comes to upsets. So the opcode set is just very limited, and that's on purpose, right? So I don't see this as a downside. This is just on purpose. That way it's extremely secure. It's very difficult that something goes wrong, because the fewer things you can do, the fewer things can go wrong. It's just always the same thing. So the holy grail, obviously, is to bring DeFi to Bitcoin. There's different approaches how to do this. The Ethereum ecosystem tries to do this by just wrapping Bitcoin. So that means you have a trusted third party, BitGo, for example, and you send it to BitGo. BitGo wraps that Bitcoin and puts it on the Ethereum blockchain. Wrapping just means I store it for you, I show you that I store it, and I create a new coin on Ethereum that represents that Bitcoin that I store for you. But you always have to trust that that Bitcoin is actually there. So it's similar like how the banking system with gold works.
I see. I see. So they put it in a vault. You do not know it's actually there. You just need to trust that the gold is there.
They try to be transparent, and I think I'm not sure how much you shouldn't trust it. I think it's solid. Yeah. But again, it's not real DeFi because suddenly you have this trusted third party. Yeah.
So real DeFi is 100% trustless, right?
Correct.
So this is something that you guys are working on.
So DeFi chain I think is ahead in doing this. I think at the moment it's not a perfect solution yet. Will we ever have a perfect solution? I don't know, right? There are always attack vectors. There are always possible problems. At DeFi chain, we're really doing this with atomic swaps, so people can go completely trustless from Bitcoin onto DeFi chain and have their rep Bitcoin on DeFi chain, but it's completely trustless.
Yes.
It's not going to be a perfect solution. There will always be attack vectors, and you will always just have to. The perfect solution would be to have it on Bitcoin in the blockchain itself. But I think, that's going to be very unlikely in the next 10 years.
I see. So knowing all the problems right now, what are you guys working on right now to solve this problem on DeFi chain?
So the real exciting part, why we're actually all doing this, is we want to create stocks, like Tesla, for example, but decentralized. And that means, for example, a Tesla share is backed by Bitcoin. So people can invest in Tesla. They don't really own the share, they own the price. And the price is backed by Bitcoin. So you always have a right to Bitcoin depending on the Tesla share. The exciting part about this is no one has solved this problem, especially on Bitcoin. Some people have tried to solve it for Ethereum, but in this case, it would be solved for Bitcoin, is suddenly anyone can invest in various shares, at least in the price, right? So you cannot really own the stock. You have access to the price, and it's backed by cryptocurrencies. This is called synthetics or decentralized tokenization. Yeah, it's a really, really exciting kind of area in the entire DeFi space. And yeah, this should be live by the end of Q2. So over the next 2 to 3 months, we should be flying, and Tesla is definitely one of our first shares, actually. Yeah.
So interesting. So instead of going through a brokerage who holds your stock in their account, which is technically yours, like a bank,
correct,
like a brokerage. So in this case, you're bringing DeFi to Tesla stocks.
Correct. And so there's a couple of advantages, right? Obviously, if you actually want to own the stock, have voting rights, this is not your solution because, yeah, that doesn't work that way. But if you want to have an easy way in and easy way out, if you want to have a very good interoperability, for example, you could sell your Tesla share into an Apple share, but you could do it directly. Yes. So you never actually have to go into dollars. So from a fee perspective, it's super efficient. Yeah, so also obviously from a censorship aspect, it's super efficient. The problems we have, for example, with GameStop and all these kind of Wall Street bet ideas, like all this could not happen, right? So this is a super, super exciting field that's happening here over the next 3 to 6 months.
Awesome. We'll take a look. We'll continue. Yeah, just watch out for that space, man. You guys are working on DeFi on Bitcoin. So how many projects out there are right now doing solving the same problem as you guys?
So I think there's two main approaches. One is a Turing complete approach, which is the Ethereum kind of approach. But in this case, for example, Rootstock is trying to do that for Bitcoin. They've been on this for quite some time. I think they're really struggling on certain aspects there. On the non-Turing complete side, which is basically what Bitcoin does, and we copied that, so we kind of going along with that. I think DeFichain is by far the leading project. There are several smaller ones that, like, I actually don't know at the top of my head, who either try to go the Turing complete route, but I think Rootstock is really the furthest ahead there. And on the non-Turing complete side, I'm actually not sure how many others are on that road as well.
Sorry, I don't understand. What is non-Turing complete? Yeah.
So Turing complete is a concept that every computer actually has. So your regular computer is Turing complete. That means it can do anything, especially in the programming language you call about, it can do loops. And that means it can do very complex calculations.
I see.
Non-Turing complete means it cannot do loops, and so you're missing a lot of the function sets that Ethereum, for example, could do. And it's very limited. Yes. But being limited, again, it's not always a downside. It also means that you have a lot of, that you're very efficient, that you are a lot of certainties. And so we, on purpose, for example, for DeFichain, chose a non-Turing complete route because it allows us to be way safer. And we just believe on DeFi, when it's about so much money, it's a bit more safety over all the experimentation.
Definitely. That's a good direction, because there's so many DeFi projects out there. I heard of it, like some people, they got scammed, or they just disappear. So I think it's very important to be transparent, trustless, and like what you said, non-Turing.
I mean, scamming is something, or just running away. It's called a rug pull, for example, is like someone pulling the rug. It can happen on Turing complete and non-Turing complete. So that is difficult to avoid because it really depends on the project.
Yes.
But on the Turing complete smart contracts, you have so many variables and you have so many challenges because everything is possible. So if everything is possible, you have to kind of keep in mind so many issues and so many attack vectors. And it just has shown that, like the saying goes, on a Turing complete system, there's always an attack possible. Someone just has to find it. For
DFI, the project you guys are working on, I noticed something really very interesting. I saw there. This thing called TVL, Total Value Locked. So currently, what is the total value locked? Or maybe you could explain to the audience what is total value locked.
So you look at two parameters. Mostly when you look at DeFi projects, you look at two parameters. One is the TVL, Total Value Locked. The other one is DAA, Daily Active Addresses. And so what you normally say is, as long as the total value locked goes up and the daily active addresses go up, the project massively increases in value. So what are those two things? The first one, TVL, total value locked, is how many assets are being lent, how many assets are being exchanged, how much is basically locked into those smart contracts. And at the moment, I think on DeFichain it's around $250 million US. To put this into perspective, Ethereum has, I think, 50 times that, right? Just to put this into perspective. So
right.
yeah, Ethereum is definitely larger. I just want to be very, very clear here.
Yes.
I think it has close to 10 billion US dollars.
So that is total value locked. Right now, DeFi chain, the total value locked is about 230?
250.
250 million. What is your plan to 30 times the total value locked? So this is very important. If people choose to invest in DeFi, they need to know what are the plans to do this.
Yeah, so at the moment, I mean, obviously, as an investor, right, people always look at the price.
Yeah.
And the price right now is around a bit over $3. I mean, it's between $3 and $3.50. And so I have this forecast, if we do really well, I think DeFi could be $50 this year. So we're talking about a 13, 14, 15x from today. And so where's this coming from? Well, it comes from two things. We need to get TVL up, and we need to get daily active addresses up. That's just like any business out there. The more people you have using it and the more funds are being on it, the more valuable it is. A big thing is going to be next quarter to have stocks on the blockchain. And so with that, a lot of the TVL should actually be shooting up because suddenly you have a real world use case. At the moment, the so-called DEX, the decentralized exchange, it's exciting, but no one really needs to use a DEX unless you're being excluded from the so-called DEXs, which are the centralized exchanges, for example, like a Binance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most people, I think, have access to those centralized exchanges. So it's a discussion whether you need a DEX. But as soon as you suddenly have access to stocks, and now stocks actually need a DEX, so now suddenly the entire loop closes, and that's where, in my opinion, a lot of the TVL is coming in. And with that, I hope, obviously, a lot of daily active addresses. So a lot of new users are coming in and people are using it. At the moment, we have around, I think, 15,000, 1.5. So yeah, our goal for the end of the year is to have 100,000 daily active addresses.
I mean, you make a very good point because how do you have technology, but how do you actually implement the technology in real life and how do actually people use the technology? So other than buying stocks, where do you see this DEX exchange? What are the real world use cases that you just have in mind?
Yeah, so the main thing is really going to be around the financial space. And so what I would love to see, and again, it's not only what I would like to see, it's what the community does, right? I cannot do anything myself. The project is so decentralized that if the masternodes, who are the ultimate voters, and there's like 15,000 of them, if they don't approve, it's a simple majority, you can't do it. So what I would love the community to work on are obviously all the financial assets. So stocks, bonds, precious metals, traditional currencies, collectibles, NFTs, really big hype at the moment, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of things that could be created on there, represent real world assets, and then it needs a trading platform, and that could be the DEX. And so, yeah, I wouldn't see a reason why we couldn't hit 5 billion this year, for example, right? Which is like a 20x from now. I think it's totally doable.
So let's say the audience back home, they want to invest in DeFi. How do they invest in DeFi now?
So we have two major exchanges. One is Bittrex, one is KuCoin. I think at the moment more trading volume is on KuCoin. I think these are the main options. We're talking to several other large exchanges. Hopefully we have some positive news there and get listed on some others. Because we're not based on Ethereum, it's not that easy sometimes to get listed because it's really a whole new listing for the exchange.
I see.
And so yeah, it always takes a little bit. Yeah.
But Bittrex, I think they are like the top 10 exchanges in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the two dream exchanges, and I'm confident we can get on there this year. It would be either Binance or Coinbase. So yeah, they would be like the two top tier, at least in my opinion. Yeah,
definitely. The volume in Binance is crazy. It's like one big buy and the rest are like
absolutely nuts.
Yeah. So Dr. Julian, thanks for sharing today. We have a gem right now. It's up to you to go and take a look at research. I opened up the route for you to take a look at DFI. Do take a look. I'm very interested in it. I personally bought some DFI tokens. I will actually show you how I bought DFI. I actually bought it over Cake.
You bought it on Cake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I bought it on
there's a
Cake.
small premium on there though. So yeah, there's you pay a little bit more.
I see.
Yeah.
See, I like transparency.
Yeah.
I was just lazy. I just didn't want to go to BitTrex and start a new account.
Yeah, fair. That's why there's a small it's not big, but there's a small premium on it to incentivize people actually buying it on the exchange.
I see.
Yeah.
I bought it on Cake. I'll show you how I did it after this video ends. For the next video, I'm going to invite Dr. Julian back and we will talk about Bitcoin, all the FUD on Bitcoin right now, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, all the news on Bitcoin. There's so much things. And when I asked him about one question, which a lot of people couldn't get this question right, the technical question, like, is quantum computing is it going to destroy Bitcoin? And he's about the only one that gave me the real answer, which I really wanted. So stay on for the next episode. I see you guys to the next episode. There are two ways to buy DeFi token, through a brokerage like KuCoin, the top 10 exchanges in the world among the tons of crap out there, or you could be lazy like me buying through CakeDefi. I have a referral code in the description. If you have your friend's referral code, use theirs. So once you have done your KYC, click on balances. You can only buy DeFi with BTC or ETH. So under Bitcoin or Ethereum, click on the deposit to get your address and send your Bitcoin to this address. It's that simple. In Cake's platform, they have a few services. I use staking to get returns of 37% a year. Staking is like proof of work in Bitcoin. So guys, there you have it. This is less than 1% of my portfolio allocation and I'm considering to add more. Cheers friends, and I hope you get rich.